What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Titans Tube. Jake, what's going on, man? Thank you for coming on again as the co-host. Yeah, that's expected of you.
Yeah, no. How's it going, man? It feels like it's been forever since I've heard that countdown. Welcome into another edition of Titans Tube. It feels great to be back. There's been a lot that's happened on this Titans roster since we last chatted on this forum, Justin, and we'll see. We're diving into it, but man, oh man, does this team look different?
It does look different. So yeah, I know, guys. I know, like Jake said, it has been a while since our last video. You might be wondering, I forgot about Titans Tube. Is that channel dead? Well, not quite. We're here. We're back for another season, everybody.
It's like Ross and Rachel, on again, off again. Will they?
Yeah.
Won't they? Well, we're here now, and that's all that matters. So, cheers to that.
Will they? Won't they? Yes. Let's get into this crazy roller coaster offseason. So much has happened. You could call it the great roster purge of 2021. J-Rob being cutthroat. And I know a lot of this is old news. A lot of this is month-old news. So we're going to try not to dwell on it too much because obviously all the analysts and other YouTubers out there have gone through all these changes at length. So you guys all know what's going on at the time of watching this video.
Mm-hmm.
So let's break it down, Jake. Let's just briefly go through all of these players that are no longer these crucial key pieces to the Titans roster that are no longer with the team. And then as well, we'll go over all of these free agent additions and then talk about what we'd like to see in this draft coming up. So we'll start it off, Jake. This defense, like, how many starters have we lost? Let's go down the list. You so kindly have spelled it out for us here. We lost Adoree Jackson, was starter, basically. Didn't see a lot of time because of his injury, but Adoree Jackson, gone. Malcolm Butler, starter, gone. Desmond King, starter, gone. Kenny Vaccaro, starter, gone. Jadeveon Clowney, starter. Yeah, he's gone. And Daquan Jones too. Big shout out to a great Titan, Daquan Jones, who came in, did his job. Not a superstar athlete, but a very solid guy down there on the defensive line that gave us some quality defensive play the last 7 years. I mean, that's a long time to spend with one team. Drafted out of the 4th round from Penn State, so a great Titans career that he had with us. Wish him the best in Carolina. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Dennis Kelly. Kind of a surprise cut there, I thought. And then, of course, Corey Davis, we kind of expected, sadly, has moved on to the New York Jets. Jonnu Smith, expected, making big money. Good for him going to New England to be the tight end for the Patriots. And lastly, Adam Humphries, another weapon on offense that is gone. Suffered a concussion last year, but kind of an expected move as well. So, I don't know. What do you make of all these cuts? Like, some of them we expected, some of them, kind of head scratching. Does anyone in particular stand out to you one way or another?
And I mostly, when I look at these roster cuts or, guys we've lost, you look at the cornerback room right off the jump. I mean, obviously the first names we said, Adoree Jackson, Malcolm Butler, Desmond King. And then if you want to count Kenny Vaccaro, I think safety is less of a concern than the cornerback position, because now you're looking back at 2019, you have a solid cornerback room led by Logan Ryan. You have Malcolm Butler, who came over, and I don't know if it was 2019, probably 2018, but Malcolm Butler, kind of a newer addition. Adoree Jackson, you're feeling really good about this cornerback group, and by 2021, nobody's left. It is tumbleweeds in that cornerback room. Yes, we'll get into the addition of Janoris Jenkins. Kevin Johnson, another corner they brought in to fill this void. Again, another air quote, fill the void at cornerback. I'm a little worried about the secondary coming into next season. And then also going to the offensive side of the ball, you look at the wide receiver room. You feel good even going back to 2020 with A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, and then you had some depth guys, Khalif Raymond, who was also gone. Another guy might have been missed on the list there.
Cam Batson, I mean, those top three, those 1, 2, and 3 is a solid trio. That's actually probably one of the better trios at receiver, I think. In the league, and now 2 of them are gone.
Yeah, you look up and A.J. Brown is there, and then it jumps two guys like Cam Batson, Nick Westbrook Akine, however you say his name. You don't even know his name. And A.J. Brown, if he gets hurt, we don't have a wide receiving core as it stands right now. Obviously, the draft is this Thursday, but we'll get to all that. And, dude, I don't think that this cornerback room is going to get it done. I'm a little worried about the guys like Breon Borders having to step up in a big role. Maybe Kareem Orr gets more snaps. I know he's kind of more of a special teams guy, but geez, man, are the cupboards bare at cornerback and wide receiver specifically?
Yeah, I feel like we were talking a little bit before we started recording. I feel like, not only does John Robinson really have to nail this draft coming up, but we also, not only that, we kind of need some of these players that are returning to make that next step that, maybe you don't expect. Like, for instance, take Jonnu Smith, for example. Not a spectacular rookie year or second year, but we saw him develop and become the player that he is. We need something similar to that from maybe a Breon Borders, from some of these depth guys that we don't really expect to do much, but hopefully, they have the work ethic, the commitment, the attitude to come in and really improve their game and to take another leap this offseason that we may not expect. So we're not just completely depending on the draft to fill out the depth on this roster. We're going to need some of that.
And with the scorched earth, let me cut you off real quick. I forgot to mention Christian Fulton. I mean, you brought up a great point about guys we need to see develop. Christian Fulton's the cornerback number one right now. I don't consider Janoris Jenkins that. I don't consider anybody else on the roster the cornerback number one. John Robinson's putting a lot of faith in Christian Fulton to step up and make that leap next season. Yeah,
absolutely. This is one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest players that we need to see, kind of take the reins, find his ground in the NFL, stay healthy, don't get COVID. I think he got injured and got COVID or something last year. Yeah, he didn't make much of an impact for us at all on the field. Some of it not really due to his poor play, but yeah, we really need to see him develop into that second round pick that we got last year. And as we were talking before we recorded, you're kind of, with good reason, kind of down a little bit so far on how the offseason has played out. We have had some good signings, in my opinion, on a couple positions that we desperately needed, that I think will benefit us greatly. And actually, before we move on to that, if we want to stay on these departures, one that doesn't make sense to me is Malcolm Butler. Now, that was a move I think that we kind of expected just so that we could save room, to save some cap money. But when you cut him and then you see that he signs with the Cardinals for a 1 year, $6 million, what was he due? If he had stayed on the Titans, what would he have been due? Like 12, 13 million?
Probably double that at least. Yeah, it was large.
So we couldn't cut that in half and offer him the same, because he came out and said that he was disappointed or kind of surprised that the Titans cut him. I would be surprised if we didn't try to restructure his contract to at least around the same number as Arizona. Maybe we were saying we can only, afford to pay you like $3 million. But, having your best defensive player, you having to cut him, and then he signs for half of that with another team at a crucial position of need at this point for this roster. Yeah. It's pretty sad. It's pretty disappointing. I'm sad to see Malcolm Butler go after the huge, I don't even know if it was a huge breakout season, but he was clearly the best defensive player on the team last year. So that one kind of bothered me. That one bothered me the most. I don't know. What do you see?
I was really bothered by the Dennis Kelly cut. Talk about a guy who would restructure for the team. I mean, he's the Players Association rep. He's universally loved in that locker room. He came over in the trade for Dorial Green Beckham. Speaking of draft misses, back in the day, but he came over in that trade. We thought he was going to be a depth guy, wasn't going to stick around long, and he became a cornerstone at the tackle position for when, Lawan went out, or if Conklin was out on injury. He stepped in and was a starter last year when Jack Conklin went to Cleveland. Dennis Kelly, a fan favorite, a locker room favorite for this Titans team, just kind of cast away and just kind of swept away.
And he kind of saved us. I mean, he's not like a superstar elite player. I mean, I would say he's probably, average, maybe, slightly above average overall. I saw him get beat in pass protection a handful of times, but still, when you have one of the biggest draft busts of all time in Isaiah Wilson at the right tackle position, and you can lean on a Dennis Kelly to come in and help block for a 2,000-yard runner in Derrick Henry, that's huge. Like he kind of saved us. Going back to him saving us, he kind of saved us in that regard. Like we weren't having to depend on some scrub, some other rookie drafted in the 7th round, or some other tackle that really hasn't seen a lot of playing time at all. He could come in and do his job and be the right tackle for one of the best, the top 5 offense in the NFL last year. So, I think we kind of owed it to him. We should have, at least brought him back, if not to be I would like to see an upgrade at right tackle, but we should have kept him around. He's got to be one of the best backup swing tackles. Play him anywhere on the line, any position except the center position, I guess. He brings so much value, just being able to be versatile like that. So I agree. That cut hurt big time.
So coming, I guess we can transition more now into the guys that were brought in through the first wave of free agency. Obviously, your headlining marquee guy, Bud Dupree, comes over from Pittsburgh to somebody please anybody help this Titans pass rush. Clowney couldn't do it. Vic Beasley sure as hell didn't do it, and the guys behind them didn't do it either.
I don't think Beasley wanted to do it. I think at least Clowney tried.
Yeah,
I guess. I mean, he saw some snaps. He looked like he was putting in the effort, and he got some pressures. No sacks, but Beasley was a waste. But
buyer beware on Bud Dupree. I'm not crazy excited about this signing, especially the amount of money that was given to him. He's coming off of an ACL tear, obviously, last season. And there's a lot of questions if he can be the guy, without TJ Watt on the other side. I mean, you mentioned it when we were talking earlier, but, Danico Autry, another signing, by the way, next guy down on the list, paired with Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry as pass rushers. I feel like that's a serviceable crew, is it not? I mean, it couldn't get any worse than last year, though. So I'm just, prepared for the worst, but hoping for the best with this Bud Dupree and Danico Autry kind of tandem signing to try and help the front 7. Going down from there, Janoris Jenkins and Kevin Johnson coming into the cornerback room. I laugh a little bit because Janoris Jenkins, 32 years old. Kevin Johnson, drafted high, I believe, by the Houston Texans, but has been a failure as far as NFL terms are considered. Bounced around a couple of teams, and now he's with us. Matthias, I will learn that name eventually this season. But Farley, who was a kind of a depth safety from the Jets. Jayon Brown signed back to the Titans. Thank you, Jayon Brown. Much appreciated there.
Man, that's actually pretty big. I mean, we would have even a bigger hole on the defense and on the roster in general if Jayon Brown didn't decide to, take less money to return to the Titans. Yeah. Like I said earlier, he is bumped up on one of my favorite players list. You got to love players that'll take one for the betterment of the team. Yeah. So super excited to have Jayon Brown back. Him and Rashaan Evans getting another crack at it at the linebacker duo position.
And I hope they can do it. I know they can. I have faith in that duo. Obviously, didn't really show it too much last year. I'm a little down on Rashaan Evans, but hey, buy low, sell high. Hopefully, Rashaan Evans can bounce back. So switching over to offensive additions, talk about Bear Cupboards going to the wide receiver room. Now they added Josh Reynolds from the Rams, who I guess could be a serviceable guy, but he's sure as hell not Corey Davis on the other side. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I think the Titans are looking wide receiver in the draft. And then talking about the Dennis Kelly hole, Kendall Lamb comes over for the tackle position from the Browns. And another guy that we love here on this channel also signed back to fill the Jonnu Smith role. Anthony Ferkser signed back for the Titans, a fan favorite, obviously there. But man, those free agent additions still leaves lots of holes on this roster, lots of things to be desired. This draft coming up on Thursday, Justin, I think is going to define John Robinson's career. This is a huge moment for him as a GM to kind of prove that he's the guy to take the Titans to a championship level, because obviously coming up short 2 years ago. Wow. Crazy to think that coming up short 2 years ago in the AFC title game, took kind of a step back last year. I mean, the offense obviously explodes, but the defense is so terrible. So what's he going to do about it? He went scorched earth on the defense, and now he's got to put the pieces back together with Mike Vrabel. Can they do it? I'm not sure. But man, oh man, does this 2021 draft class need to contribute? Looking back at 2020's draft class, obviously Isaiah Wilson, Christian Fulton, Darian Evans, those dudes weren't even on the field at all, really. So we cannot have a repeat of that. John Robinson has to hit the nail on the head, Justin.
I mean, he did. He can do it. He definitely can. Look at his body of work. 2 years ago, he hit some grand slams with Jeffrey Simmons and then AJ Brown as his first two picks. Get out of here. He also had some other ones. I think that was also Nate Davis and Amani Hooker, who's now going to be filling the role of Kenny Vaccaro. So that's 4 starters, 4 above average. Well, Amani Hooker, I think, still, he needs to, solidify that starting spot. I think he needs a little bit more playing time before I call him like an above average starter. But and Nate Davis is there. I think Nate Davis may have some Pro Bowls in his future.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Simmons is there, and obviously AJ Brown is already a Pro Bowler. And then he had that one draft where it was Kevin Byard, Derrick Henry, Jack Conklin. I think that was his first draft. It was 2016. So, he can knock it out of the park. But yeah, of course, you're going to have some duds. And I guess you're going to have an entire draft class of duds, apparently, is what happened last time. But hopefully Christian Fulton, Darrington Evans can turn that around and have better sophomore campaigns. So yeah, like you said, this draft class is so huge. We've got to hit it out of the park if we want to compete again. Well, thank God for the AFC South, because I think even if we have some draftees that come out for the Titans, we still might be able to win the AFC South just because of the other teams competing in that division.
The trio of Tannehill, Henry, and AJ Brown will drag us at least to be competitive in the division.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've got some outstanding starters on this roster, but it's just the depth behind them that you're kind of wondering who's going to be the guy. If this guy goes down, we're screwed. If we don't have a 100% healthy season, we're screwed. So I do want to go
won't happen.
Fingers crossed. I want to go back to some of these players on defense, and like you said, I think our defensive line has been upgraded. I think, Bud Dupree coming in, like you said, he did play for a much better front seven with the Steelers than what he's coming to with the Titans. But I think he's an upgrade over Jadeveon Clowney at this point in his career, given that he can bounce back from his ACL. I think Denico Autry is an upgrade from Daquan Jones. Daquan Jones getting a little bit older. Denico Autry is pretty good. I think he's a pretty underrated guy. I mean, I know he plays for Indianapolis, kind of a smaller market team. Not as many people talk about him, but he was a key part of a great front seven that they had. And I know you said Janoris Jenkins, not too excited about him. He is 32, but he played pretty good for the Saints even a year ago. Like if he had a down year and then we signed him, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But Malcolm Butler was like 1 or 2 years younger, and he played great for us last year. So hopefully the fall off doesn't happen yet for Jenkins, because I mean we sorely need him. I hate to say it, dude, but I think he's going to be our number 1 corner coming in. Even if we go cornerback first round, it might be like a 1A, 1B kind of a thing, but he might be the best cornerback on this roster, which kind of hurts to say. Yeah. But that was a badly needed signing. I don't know if we could have gotten someone else that is as good or a better deal. But it's better than nothing. I mean, when you let go of that many starting players in an offseason, you got to bring in somebody that started for another team a season ago. So that's good. I did like the Josh Reynolds signing. You said it's going to be a downgrade from Corey Davis, and maybe you're probably right. But I will say I feel like he suffered that Jonnu Smith syndrome of just there being a lack of targets or a lack of opportunity, because you got Cooper Kupp, you got Robert Woods, who's their tight end, Gerald Everett. So you got a lot of targets there in LA. So maybe in an expanded role we could be seeing more production from him. But he does remind me, I looked at his body build. He's 6'3", according to Pro Football Reference, he's 6'3", 196 pounds. AJ Brown is 3 inches shorter at 6 feet, 226 pounds. So this dude is 3 inches taller and 30 pounds lighter. So he's just like a lanky, long, stridey guy, kind of receiver. So big bodied, probably, a physical receiver. And that's kind of what AJ Brown is. And AJ Brown has top end speed to be that complete package. But we do need, Devontae Smith, or just like a small, quick slot guy. I don't think we're not getting him. He's going early unless we trade up. But we do need, that alternate, shifty, change of pace kind of quick receiver. Hopefully that can be a number 2 receiver, so Josh Reynolds doesn't have to be that guy on the outside all the time for us. And so, and with Ferkser being back, you love that. But is he a number 1 tight end? He's obviously your pass catching tight end. He's got great hands, great route running. He's pretty much a big slot receiver, I think. So I don't know, is him and Michael Pruitt, and I don't know who else we have at tight end on the roster.
Jeff Swaim.
There's
your blocking Luke Stalker, Craig Stevens guy. You got him. Ferkser's your pass catcher. I believe Michael Pruitt's still a free agency, or maybe he signed back. I think he did. But anyways, I think you're looking at a 3-headed monster when it comes to tight end, which I'm okay with.
So you don't think we should be addressing
the pass catching threat? Yeah.
You don't think we should be addressing tight end in the draft, like early-ish, to see significant playing time or snaps? You think we're good with the tight ends that we have in place? Because, like you said, we need wide receiver depth. We need starters. We need cornerback starters in depth. We need pass rusher depth. It looks like we could use a tight end as well, just kind of more of a complete mold of a tight end that Jonnu Smith was, that can catch, block, run, everything. So I don't know. If you look at our tight ends, it seems like they specialize in one thing and not the other. But just more holes, more positions of need, it looks like, going into the draft.
No kidding. I would rather see them go wide receiver or corner, in the first 2 rounds or so. I have in the notes possible trade up for Devontae Smith. I mean, if they really, really like him, it's tough to argue with what he did at Alabama. But it's tough to really make that call, because if you do swing and miss, there's obviously size issues there. With how skinny he is as a wide receiver, the Slim Reaper, that kind of thing. 160 something pounds. There's like kickers aren't even that small. How is he that small? Dude, you get a hit across the middle from a 240 pound linebacker. Yeah, I'm just saying, let's see how long he lasts in the NFL if he takes hits like that. But I mean, the talent is out the window. If he falls out of the top 10. I mean, there's going to be tons of teams trying to trade up and trying to get him, I think. So we'll see what happens. We know how aggressive John Robinson can be, but that'd be an incredible draft pick if we're able to get him. Running down the list at wide receiver real quick. I'm a big fan of Rondale Moore out of Purdue, obviously from Ohio, Big Ten country guy. But I have seen him play, and he is that speedy kind of slot guy. I feel like the Titans so wish that Cam Batson could be, or Khalif Raymond could be, but just didn't. I feel like he's got that kind of, he's got the speed. I think he's kind of a gritty player, kind of hard-nosed, physical, like AJ Brown, but a mini-me AJ Brown. And speaking of mini-me AJ Brown, another Moore in the wide receiver class, Elijah Moore from Ole Miss. That would be a great teaming up of old Running Rebels teammates with AJ Brown, and kind of like the little brother aspect of Elijah Moore. Or I've seen a lot of mock drafts and things. I mean, mock drafts, who really puts a lot of stock into those, but Rashad Bateman from Minnesota is also a popular one, kind of falling to the Titans at 22 there, which, any of those guys, I feel like first round wide receiving talents could be day one starters in the right situation. And the Titans need day one starters at wide receiver. You can't, come out at Nissan Stadium, brand new 2021 season, and it's, Nick Westbrook-Akini across from AJ Brown. That's just not going to work. We'll see how that goes. Hopping over to the cornerback side of things, some guys I'd like to see. You're looking at Greg Newsome from Northwestern is a popular one. Caleb Farley, there's some injury concern. I think he sat out a pro day just due to a procedure he had. Patrick Surtain from Alabama, Asante Samuel Jr. from Florida State. All great first-round talents here. And again, you're going to need a day one starter, I think, at corner. At least a guy who can play, double-digit snaps day one in the NFL.
Dude, yeah, and I also see you have J.C. Horn listed. Dude, I know I'm getting way too old now because I watched all of their fathers play. I remember Patrick Surtain, cornerback for the Dolphins. Asante Samuel, obviously a more recent cornerback that more recently retired. And I think J.C. Horn, he plays corner, but his dad is Joe Horn, who was the receiver for the Saints.
Yeah.
Out the cell phone celebration, that guy. It's like, okay, now their children are in the NFL. How old am I again? Oh, my goodness.
Who's counting?
Anyway.
Right?
Yeah, who's counting? I'm not. I stopped counting a long time ago. But yeah, hopefully these guys can be, hopefully the blood runs, the NFL blood runs true with these guys as it did their dads, because they were all those guys' dads were great NFL players. So hopefully, it's not just their namesake that gets them all this hype, but they actually are legitimate. So yeah, man, I would be okay with, is it a corner or one of those receivers. I mean, you can't go wrong in the sense that you're drafting someone at a position of need, and they're one of the top graded people at that position. So if we do wide receiver there or cornerback, I'm good with that. We didn't list him, and I don't know how much time you want to spend talking about him, but who's that right tackle who, if he falls, then we might actually draft him because he, how it kind of plays out. There's one right tackle that I've heard talked about. It's like, that would be interesting if John Robinson doubled up on the right tackle position, because this guy's basically a can't miss prospect. He's not a project guy like Isaiah Wilson was, but I think a lot of people would be pulling their hair out if they see John Robinson drafting
a late first round right tackle. Yeah.
So I don't
like a bad dream all over again. But I mean, we'll see how it plays out.
I mean, if we get that, I think right tackle, even with Kendall Lamb coming in, that's going to be the weakest link still. I think even with Dennis Kelty being as average-ish as he was the weak link on the offensive line. You love Taylor Lewan. You got to counting him when he's in the lineup. I forgot he was hurt the last 11 or so games of the season. So with him coming back, that's an improvement. You love him and Saffold back-to-back on the left side. Ben Jones is solid. Nate Davis, up and coming. Where are we going to be at right tackle? If we can get some above average play there, we're going to have one of the best offensive lines in the league, I think. So we'll see. We'll see where he goes there. But yeah, I don't know. The draft is just a lot of speculation.
Ready approaching. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of stuff this year. People are dogging Mel Kiper. Like, what does he know? What does anybody know about the draft? So, let's just cross our fingers and hope John Robinson can hit it out of the park and get some instant contributors onto this roster, because man, oh man, there's some holes that really need some instant contributors.
Yes, definitely.
Just kind of wrapping things up, Justin, we had some NFL rule changes in the news. Obviously, the big headliner was a 17th game. The Titans are going to be hosting an extra playoff game this year, so it worked out for the Titans in the short term, getting in a 9th home game against the Saints in 2021. And then obviously everybody's talking about the uniform number change rule. And there's 2 Tennessee Titans, Justin, that are very strong candidates for number changes. Obviously, Derrick Henry, does he move to number 2? And A.J. Brown, obviously the number 1 is retired in the Titans/Oilers franchise with Warren Moon. I don't know if you saw, A.J. Brown had a great tweet saying, he tagged Warren Moon. He said, I was going to come to you and bother you about possibly getting the number, but I read up on your stats and everything, and I couldn't possibly even try to do that from you. So, game recognizes game, and he kind of backed off and saluted him. So cool to see from A.J. Brown honoring that. But I don't know. Something about Derrick Henry moving to number 2 doesn't sit right with me, Justin. I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but I don't think I'd like it.
I do, and it's probably going to be unpopular. I don't know. I guess I'm more going to agree with you. I'm getting to be an old man, Jake, because I don't know why we're changing. I like structure and order, even when it comes to numbers. It's like it just feels right, and it's how I grew up watching football. Like, it looks like if we're gonna have players, running around in single digits and linebackers in like number 20 something, and I don't know what exactly, if every player can wear whatever number they want to, or if they've just kind of expanded it a little bit for certain positions. I don't know. It just seems like I'm like watching a preseason game, or I'm watching college football. Here's another old man reference. I remember Peerless Price when he played for the University of Tennessee, and then he went on to play for the Bills for several seasons. He wore number 37. And I always thought that was like weird. Like, this just feels wrong. Why is a receiver out here catching passes wearing number 37? It's not going to affect the game that much, or at all, I guess. I don't know. I'm just like, why are we changing? Keep things the way they are.
I get it. I get it.
I'm a fan of the phrase, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Were people like calling for this? Like, maybe they were like, I want them to be able to wear their college numbers or something. I think I'm more upset about the added game, the 17 game schedule. If we want to go into a ramble here, I like the evenness. The NFL had a very, it just, everything fit, everything worked, and we kind of lost a little bit of that with the added playoff spot. But you have 32 teams, 2 conferences, 4 divisions consisting of 4 teams with each. You have 16 games, and 6 teams, 4 division winners and 2 wild card teams. I like the evenness. I like the even numbers of everything. And now 17 just feels weird. It feels wrong. Not only that, but now you're getting into, well, how's that going to affect stats for the stat heads out there and the accumulation? Now everything's going to have an asterisk by it. Like, oh, this person rushed for 200 or 2,000 yards. Oh, but that was in a 17 game season, so I guess it counts. I don't know. It just kind of muddies things a little bit, and it's
I get it.
One suggestion that I thought was interesting was, if the NFL wants to have its extra game or its 17th game, sure, let them have that, but maybe make it a requirement that all players can only play. They're only available for up to 16 games, so they're forced to sit out. That way, they can get an extra bye as well, so you can kind of take your player safety thing into consideration, and you can still maintain that same integrity with season stat totals from years past, which I thought was an interesting suggestion. So you kind of have to pick and choose, like it's kind of a strategy thing. What if we just forfeit a game, rest all of our starters, and so we don't have to, to get around. You can play that out in different ways, but not a fan of these changes. I know that's probably not a popular opinion. I see a lot on Twitter like, why shouldn't they be able to wear whatever they want? That's a dumb rule. I guess it's just a matter of perspective, I guess.
Hey, I get it. And I get the evenness thing. I get the number rule is, it's whatever to me. I don't really have a strong swaying opinion either way. Yeah. I do get the kind of professionalism aspect from like college to the NFL. Like they're numbers. They're just numbers. But like, I do understand the certain position groups having those certain numbers, and the certain range of numbers is so specific, and it's something you don't really think about.
It helps me identify. It helps me identify players that aren't Titans and we're playing. It's like, 55. Oh, linebacker. I wonder. He just made a play. We got to look out for him. It's like, well, now 55 for this team plays wide receiver.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's an available option. But a receiver wearing number 55, it feels wrong. It just it doesn't sit right in my football soul. Sorry, I'm an old man.
No, hey, it's okay. Tradition. And with the 17th game, I'm not necessarily a fan of it either, but obviously money talks with the NFL. I mean, you saw it coming a mile away. We kind of knew this was coming over time. But I also agree with you in the even number aspect. It's like, the TV volume, if it's on an odd number, it's not right. It doesn't feel right, and looking at records,
I get it.
The Titans, the kings of 9-7, that's not possible anymore. It'll be 10-7. And that makes my skin crawl even more. I don't know what the records are going to be. There's no more 8-8. There's no more, 13-3. Now it's all wonky now. It's all changed.
I would have rather I would have them rather added 2 games. I would rather have 18 games, I think, than 17. Even with my misgivings about how that affects season stat totals and everything, for comparison throughout history of other players that didn't play in the 18 game era. But I would have rather. The evenness is it's important to me, Jake. It's that important.
Again, something you don't really think about until it changes. You know, the number rule, the 17th game, the odd number of games, something you really don't think about until it's here. And, you know, here it is. You know, another rule change we might see in the upcoming season is the alternate shell rule for helmets. Basically, what that means for Titans fans specifically is Oilers throwback uniform potential, which obviously I think that's pretty universal that most Titans fans want to see throwback Oilers uniforms. It's a popular thing on the team. I
think it's popular across the NFL, even like maybe not Houston Texans fans. But I think I think Texans fans would recognize Oilers jerseys are some of the sharpest looking in the league. And the color scheme is beautiful. Those baby blue jerseys with the red and the white. It looks great. And I think it's getting a lot of push. So I think there could be some Oiler jerseys coming out in the next few years. Hopefully that would be cool. That'd be cool to see. And we should wear them against the Texans just to get in their
I would
heads.
love that. It would be a great troll job by the team. It would be, chef's kiss, full circle. But I just kind of wanted to close out the section with, the single digit rule be damned, the 17th game be damned. Give us the Oilers jerseys and I'll be happy.
I'm with you. I think I see eye to eye with you on all 3 of those things. We make such a good team, Jake. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, and that's why we're on again, off again, and hey, here we are on again. Do you have any closing thoughts to round out the show, Justin?
Oh man, not really. Hope you guys are enjoying your off season so far, keeping up with all these mock drafts or whatever speculation. I'm almost glad it's over. I'm tired of seeing, here's the 50th mock draft. I'm ready to move on and talk about what happened in the draft and all the pieces instead of just, something new to talk about. It's gone too far. It's enough. I've had enough of it. Let's just have the dang thing and then talk about our new additions to the team.
Heard that.
Which is what we'll do. When's the draft? Next weekend. So we'll get back together Thursday through
absolutely.
Sunday.
We'll do a draft recap and kind of round out what this Titans roster is going to look like heading into August and training camp and the whole 9 yards there. No pun intended.
10 yards.
Like,
10.
Comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Justin, it was a pleasure hopping back on the horn with you. Hope you guys enjoyed the latest pre-draft, post-first wave free agency combination episode. There we go. How's that for sign off?
Signed off. Sounds good, man. You guys take care and tighten up, and fingers crossed for a Grand Slam draft. Please, John Robinson, save us from these roster holes. He can do it. He can do it, folks.
I believe. Peace, y'all.
See y'all.